Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the recap video of day 2 of the Champions Chess Tour. What a day it has been. There is so much to talk about. There was so much good chess and quite a bit of drama too. So I think the best thing I can do is to jump right into it so we waste no time whatsoever. Of course, the talk of the town is the tragic Mouseslips from the reigning world champion Magnus Carlsen. This is a component of online chess that I absolutely despise personally, because in my book, Mouseslips is something that do not happen from in the actual game that we are imitating by online chess, which is over the board chess. And so it's a real evil part of the game that is most certainly not necessary, but somehow we must live with it. And sometimes it brings very ugly conclusions to otherwise supremely entertaining games. And that was exactly the case in the game between Magnus Carlsen and Li Liam, which kicked off with a knight f3, then quickly transposed into a Tarrasch setup. Actually is the closest that it could get to. And the world champ actually played a very impressive early middle game / early middle game, opening early middle game, and came out slightly on top with this queen b1 move, which I really like, by the way. Normally white likes to hide the queen on e2. The idea is to not to keep it on either of these open files, because that's where the rooks will come for both parties. And so the queen is usually clumsily placed on those two files, and queen b1 seems to preempt that quite well, whilst keeping an eye on the h7 target and potentially the e4 square. Li Guang, to his defense, also played a really good game, by the way. And once Magnus's pressure started to build up hereabouts, he played a move that I really liked. And this is something that I consider to be extremely educational for lower rated players. And that is the fact that when you begin to feel that the positional pressure is building up, to change the trend and offer your opponent a different type of advantage, which is in this case material, but grabbing the initiative in return, is a very good deal to take. So all of a sudden, the position changed drastically. Black is now a pawn down, but the bishops are very much alive. In particular, the light squared bishop is tickling that weak b3 pawn, and white's initiative is gone, entirely gone, and now white is actually on the defense, but the upper hand, or rather he has got a pawn to show for. So actually who has the upper hand is still quite undecided yet. Further really accurate moves were played for both sides and the game remained in balance. It's super impressive to see these top GMs to play almost flawless chess, really, with extremely limited time at their disposal. And so we ended up in this endgame scenario where white is now actually clearly ahead. Pawn up, the bishop on d4 is a mighty piece to reckon with. And the only downside of white's position is that that b3 pawn still needs quite a bit of nursing to be sure that it remains safely protected. And yeah, Magnus somehow even managed to overcome that issue and slowly built up to this endgame, which is still better for white. But now b3 is going to be a goner. However, now the black king is a little bit exposed. f6 was forced. And now after queen takes b4, it looks like, okay, we can lose b3 now, no problems, because b4 has been eliminated. And we are still a pawn to the good here. However, this is where the drama kicked in. And I do wonder, by the way, how much Magnus was flustered by this move, or what his evaluation of the position was after knight c1. But the fact of the matter is that the very annoying queen takes c3 is a threat, with the idea of knight e2 checking down the queen. So any random move for white now loses, in fact, to queen takes c3. So to address this problem, we either need to move out of the check, or we need to move the bishop. However, problem number 2 is that upon moving the bishop, we actually get mated out of the blue by queen g1 next move, or at least white is going to receive serious damage, CV damage, after h4 check check, g2 dropping, f2 dropping. It's just dead lost, like, mark my words, not playable. And I once again don't know if Magnus reckoned with this or not, or whether it was right now when the reality hit him that it's actually much more awkward to get out of this dual threat than he thought it would be. Additionally to this, by the way, knight a2 is also a threat. So even king moves won't solve the issue. And in fact, the only move to stay ahead for white is bishop e1. A very passive and ugly looking move. But it does indeed resolve both of the problems. The penetration of the queen on the back rank, as well as the hanging piece on c3. So now white is still okay, but admittedly this is a very clumsy looking operation. Instead, Magnus decided to make a draw by playing king h2, knight either a2 or e2, but I think a2 is better, and then play queen d4 here, which allows black to take the piece, and then white would go check, and now we have got a perpetual check scenario. If the king goes back, we have got check, check. If they play f5 first, then they actually have to be very careful, because here g6 loses to queen check, and then we pick off the loose knight, and likewise king g8 also loses to queen check, and we pick off the knight. So now the only move for black is king h8, when again the game remains in balance with a perpetual check. Excuse my mouse slip, funny that I just did there then. But none of this happened due to the extreme stupidity of this equipment here, which in my opinion has no place in deciding who the better chess player is, but I'm notoriously known for my old-fashioned views. Long story short, Paul Magnus accidentally went queen e4 instead of queen d4, and his queen got promptly taken, and the game ended in the most meaningless or dumb or stupid way it was possible to end. And to my mind, yeah, it sort of really destroys the competitive nature of the game and the artistic one as well. But these are the times we live in, and we have to accept that online chess is just, yeah, it has that extra element of surprise, I guess is a good figure of speech, that a mouse slip can happen any time of the day. Now, admittedly, I haven't done my homework for today's videos, partly intentionally, because I would like to be surprised or not, and I'm really eager to read the comments about this. But when I went through the rest of the games, because I always like to present more than one, I found Chessbra, whose game I always look out for because I really am rooting for the guy, against Jordan Van Forest, and Jordan chucked out the mainline hedgehog, or both of them did rather. And in this position, after bishop e3, knight d7, Jordan rocked up with the rather remarkable semi-bone cloud king d2. Now, I don't really think that anyone in their right mind would do this on purpose, so I'm assuming that that was mouse slip number 2 in this round, because queen d2 is one of the most popular and most logical moves in this position, whereas king d2 just goes like, what? And then anyway, the funny thing is that he made the best of a really unpleasant situation, because he then walked the king to the queen side and castled by hand, so to speak, or castled by mouse in this case, and actually went on to win the game. The amazing thing about king d2 is that according to the engine's eval, white is still ahead, believe it or not. But white is still ahead after king d2, and there is no apparent refutation of this move. I still believe it was a mouse slip, but yeah, that was definitely an interesting additional bit to this round. And now for the real deal. Let's learn some good chess, because good chess was to be learned from Magnus Carlsen against Le Quam Lien. And that, ladies and gentlemen, highlights why Magnus Carlsen is the world champion, in my opinion. One of the many ways to explain this is that he bounced back like an absolute Chad and played a game like wowzers, man. Look at this. Chucks out the Catalan, all theory. Then he sacks a pawn on c4 like a boss. Well, let's go with boss. Sacks a pawn on c4 like a boss and goes on a kingside rampage like just divine stuff. Watch this. He goes, I mean, by the way, this is ultimate chess for lower rated players to model what an opening is about and what a healthy approach of an opening towards a middle game should look like. You should just take a photograph of this position and show it to them. This is what Morphy taught us 200 years ago. Development, bring your rooks into the game, open fast, grab whatever you can, and away we go. And center, of course. Now, there are no open files here, but it's very apparent that the rooks will be standing best here. So white has full development, very healthy, full central control, perfect piece placement. Away we go. Doesn't matter whether you are 1800 or 1600 or 1200 or 2800. These are the foundational basics for good chess. And look what he does with it. Chucks the horse in the center because that's where chess is played when it's played well. And then he just launches a kingside attack once again like a Chad. And check this out. From here on out, it's just pure carnage. Knight g6, the one and only mistake by black. And this is the point of no return. Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop g5. Planning to play e5, trading the dark squared bishop, exploiting the weak dark squares. Bishop f8, trying to dodge it, but once again, that was probably inaccurate at best. And here the white attack is already breaking through with the h5 pawn sack, very much in the spirit of the game. Magnus first played knight e4, and after b5 he went on h5 takes queen e2. Now queen h5 followed by bishop f3 followed by king g2 followed by rook h1 and h5 mate is the basic plan. But there are other variations of this when we sack a piece on f6 and we bring the bishop to e4. Li Kuang was interested in none of this, so he played g6 and then g4 ripped the king wide open again. And after h4, note that hg, queen g is immediately game over with the queen coming to the h file. So he tried to keep the position closed, but this is all in vain. The bishop just takes, the queen can come in from here, knight f6 check is threatened, it's basically over. And Magnus finishes off in style, although here he misses bishop f6, which would have been the fastest win according to the cruel engine. Or even queen h3 actually, and then whatever you dump on f6 is going to net an easy victory. It remained a win and a victory anyway. After bishop e4, when the plan again is a king lift followed by coming to the h file with the checkmate. Queen b5, g5. I actually didn't go into the all the way to the end of this game. That is very curious. I wonder, first and foremost, what's wrong with... I understand now. So the idea behind queen b5 is that black wants to take this, take, and then queen g5 and then take. So my move king g2 here would lose to take, take, and queen g5 and queen f6 defends the mate. That is absolutely sensational. And now I understand why Magnus played g5 too, because he wants to take back on f6 with... hang on. Yeah, he played g5. He wants to take back with the g, denying the queen's crossing of the 5th rank. And the engine's favorite move is queen h4, which is also played in the same spirit that it denies queen g5. And now the rook lift is gonna come from here. So there were multiple wins to be had. G5 was played, queen b3 was played, queen h4, and now came the rook lift to h1, and that's the end of the story. c5, he needed to just block off the d, and that is all she wrote. ed, rook h1, and the upcoming queen h8 mate is unstoppable. Now that was a mighty impressive attack from the world champ, right on the back of an extremely annoying and unnecessary loss. That just shows what a mental fortress this guy is. And there is still one more game that I would like to show you, at least very briefly, and that is the Indian phenom Prangnanda. Let's just go with Prag, defeating Mamedyarov actually in 2 games. He did. Both of them featured this weird semi-Slav setup. I'm going to fly through the opening because it's going to be actually the middle game where things become quite spicy. But let's just establish the facts that we have got an opposite castle king scenario here, or it's looking like we are going to have one, because this king is seemingly going either this way or staying where it is. And in fact, it did commit to a king move soon. Here. So from here on out, we have got the definitive king positions. Now, what's particularly interesting about this position and about Prag's chess style is that white is clearly worse here according to the engine. But when I say according to the engine, that means nothing, because this position is so immensely complicated that Prag would beat me 100 times out of 100 here without any problems whatsoever with white, because his incredible calculating ability and his tactical finesse in such positions really do come to the fore. What's particularly exciting about this game, that this is exactly the type of chess where Shakiryan Mamedyarov is one of the best in the world. So now he's really serving his own medicine to Mamedyarov. And look at this uncompromising attack he puts on here. H4. Takes. No worries. Takes. Oh, okay. I have a G-pawn. You can have that too. And by the way, that is exactly the style of attack that Pragg already displayed in a video I reviewed a couple of videos ago against his marvelous victory at the Reykjavik Open against Kornet. Kornet? I think so. Yeah. So, yeah, just amazing attacking prowess that this Indian prodigy has. Just breathtaking. And look at the grand finale of this game. Rook h2, bishop f4. Hello. Knight takes rook f4 and just gets mopped up entirely. But that naked king is already a major concern. And then comes the absolutely stunning finish here. He goes knight e5. Now g6 is bleeding out. b3. A superbly clever counterpunch by Mamedyarov. Threatening mate in 2. And trying to lure the queen to b3. So that after rook b8 we have got rook b2. He really does a great job to try to complicate matters. But there comes Pragg with the coup de grace, with takes. Ooh, no, don't press the wrong button, dude. With takes. And then look at this move. Rook g2. Wowzers. That is so cool. He has his queen hanging and he goes like, oh yeah, no whackers. How about if I offer my rook as well? And now this is a forced mate, believe it or not. The idea behind this sensational move, of course, is that the queen is immune because of take, and it's going to be mate within a few amount of moves. So that's totally unplayable. But also the rook is immune on g2 because of the check. And once the king moves, we just take on g2 with a check. And again, the king is exposed to the mercy of the white pieces on the 3 open files. That is going to be a mate in no more than 7 moves. And so the game ended with rook g2, rook b3, rook takes h2, king g7, and after rook g1, Mamedyarov resigned. In my opinion, one of the most impressive attacking performances of the day, although the previous Carlsen game was equally exciting. So, like I said in the intro, we had quite a bit of drama, quite a bit of awesome chess. I would hope that definitely the awesome chess part will continue in the same spirit. It's a real delight to report back from these games and, you know, to sink our teeth into the games of the greatest chess players of our era. So let's see what round 3 holds for us. This is it for me for now. I'm going to be back tomorrow with more. Don't forget to join me. Please don't forget to like, to sub, to comment. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.